At the heart of America's gun debate is the term assault weapon, a legal and political label, not a technical one. The phrase itself sparks controversy, as it doesn't have a universally accepted definition among gun owners, lawmakers, or even law enforcement. Instead, it's a term shaped by legislation and public perception, often evolving with each new law or high-profile incident. It generally refers to semi-automatic rifles, pistols, and shotguns with features like pistol grips, folding stocks, or detachable magazines, features reminiscent of military firearms. These characteristics are often singled out because they can make a firearm easier to handle or fire rapidly, which some believe increases their potential for misuse. A semi-automatic fires one bullet per trigger pull, reloading automatically. This is different from fully automatic weapons, which continue firing as long as the trigger is held down. Most civilian-owned firearms in the U.S. are semi-automatic, making the distinction important in legal debates. Assault weapon bans prohibit the sale, manufacture, and sometimes possession of these firearms, with the AR-15 as a frequent target. These bans can also include restrictions on accessories like high-capacity magazines or certain types of ammunition. These bans differ from the strict regulations on fully automatic machine guns, which have been in place since 1934. Fully automatic weapons are rarely owned by civilians due to these long-standing federal laws. Laws vary widely by state, creating a patchwork of regulations and definitions. What's legal in one state may be banned in another, leading to confusion for gun owners and law enforcement alike. Some states ban weapons based on a single feature, others list specific models or use a combination of features. This means a firearm could be legal in one place, but illegal just across the border depending on how the law is written. Proponents argue these features make the weapons especially dangerous in mass shootings, while opponents say the bans target cosmetic traits and infringe on constitutional rights. The debate is often emotional, fueled by tragic events and deep-rooted beliefs about safety and freedom. The definition of assault weapon remains a central and fiercely contested point in the legal and public debate shaping the future of gun laws in America. Assault weapon bans exist in some states but not others, reflecting deep political and cultural divides. States like California and Connecticut passed these laws after mass shootings, aiming to prevent future tragedies by targeting weapons seen as especially dangerous. Lawmakers argue that banning rapid-fire, high-capacity firearms is a reasonable trade-off for public safety. In contrast, states like Texas and Arizona emphasize gun rights, viewing such bans as government overreach and ineffective at stopping crime. This creates a legal patchwork. A gun legal in one state may be illegal in another, fueling ongoing legal challenges. Each state's decision reflects its unique balance between public safety concerns and Second Amendment beliefs. The result is a nation divided, with vastly different realities for gun owners depending on where they live. Supporters of assault weapon bans argue these firearms are specifically engineered for rapid, sustained fire, traits that make them especially lethal in mass shootings and other violent incidents. They point out that assault weapons are not typically used for hunting or self-defense, but are instead designed for military-style combat situations, which raises concerns about their place in civilian hands. Features like pistol grips and high-capacity magazines, they say, enable shooters to inflict more harm in less time. These accessories allow for greater control and faster firing, making it easier to shoot many rounds without pausing. This, advocates argue, increases the potential for mass casualties in a matter of seconds. Limiting magazine size and banning certain rifles, advocates believe, could reduce casualties by forcing shooters to reload more often. Every pause to reload is a critical moment that could save lives, giving potential victims a chance to escape or law enforcement time to intervene. They point to historical precedents for regulating dangerous weapons and argue the Second Amendment is not unlimited. Throughout American history, laws have been enacted to restrict access to weapons deemed too dangerous for public use, showing that regulation is both possible and constitutional. Just as civilians can't own rocket launchers or fully automatic machine guns, they say, society can draw reasonable lines for semi-automatic rifles with military-style features. These boundaries, supporters argue, are necessary to protect public safety while respecting individual rights. Supporters also highlight the psychological toll. The presence of these weapons fuels fear and anxiety in schools and public spaces. The threat of gun violence affects not just victims, but entire communities, leaving lasting emotional scars and undermining the sense of security. For them, banning assault weapons is about creating safer communities and reducing the risk of mass violence. It's a proactive step toward preventing future tragedies and fostering a culture where people feel protected in their daily lives. Ultimately, it's not just about statistics or policy debates, it's about the kind of society Americans want to live in and the values they choose to uphold for future generations. Opponents ground their arguments in the Second Amendment, insisting it protects the right to own firearms for self-defense, including popular semi-automatic rifles like the AR-15. They cite the common use doctrine. Millions of Americans lawfully own these rifles, making them neither dangerous nor unusual. Critics call the term assault weapon misleading, arguing these guns function like many hunting rifles, one shot per trigger pull. Features like pistol grips are seen as ergonomic, not more lethal. Opponents argue bans target appearance, not function, and do little to deter criminals, who may obtain weapons illegally. They note that handguns, not rifles, are used in most violent crimes. For them, assault weapon bans punish law-abiding citizens while failing to address the root causes of violence. The focus, they say, should be on enforcing existing laws and addressing mental health, not banning specific firearms. The legal fight over assault weapon bans is now focused on Illinois and New Jersey, two states that have become the epicenter of a national debate. As legal challenges intensify, the outcomes here could ripple far beyond state borders, drawing the attention of lawmakers, activists, and citizens across the country. In Illinois, gun rights groups are mounting a fierce challenge against both Cook County's long-standing ban and the newer statewide Protect Illinois Communities Act. They argue these laws infringe on constitutional rights protected by the Second Amendment and claim that such restrictions unfairly target law-abiding citizens rather than addressing the root causes of gun violence. After suffering setbacks in lower courts, these groups have now petitioned the U.S. Supreme Court, insisting that the AR-15 and similar firearms are in common use for lawful purposes and therefore cannot be banned under current legal standards. Their case is being closely watched by legal scholars and gun owners nationwide. Meanwhile, New Jersey's decades-old ban on assault weapons is facing a major challenge in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, where plaintiffs argue the law is outdated and overly broad. The state, however, staunchly defends its law as a proven tool for public safety, pointing to consistently low gun violence rates and arguing that the ban has helped keep communities safer for decades. With the Third Circuit's conservative majority now weighing the case, there's a real possibility of a circuit split, a situation where federal appeals courts reach opposing conclusions on the same legal question, setting the stage for Supreme Court review. Such a split would almost guarantee Supreme Court intervention, forcing the nation's highest court to resolve the issue once and for all. The outcome in these two states could set a powerful national precedent, determining whether assault weapon bans will stand or fall across the country and shaping the future of gun regulation for years to come. Both sides see these cases as pivotal, with gun control advocates and gun rights supporters alike believing the decisions will define the next chapter in America's ongoing debate over firearms. The stakes are high. A Supreme Court ruling could fundamentally reshape gun laws nationwide, affecting millions of Americans and influencing future legislation. As these legal battles unfold, the nation is watching closely, aware that the decisions made in Illinois and New Jersey could change the landscape of gun rights and regulations for a generation. The Supreme Court's 2022 Bruen decision changed how courts evaluate gun laws. Instead of balancing public safety against gun rights, courts must now ask if a law fits within the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. States defending assault weapon bans must show similar restrictions existed in the 18th or 19th centuries. Gun rights advocates argue there's no historical precedent for banning firearms in common use, like the AR-15. For states like Illinois and New Jersey, Bruen makes defending their laws much harder. They must find historical analogs for modern semi-automatic rifles. Supporters of bans point to past regulations on dangerous weapons, but the technology gap complicates the argument. The central legal question: does banning AR-15s align with America's historical tradition? Courts across the country are now wrestling with this standard. The answer will shape the future of gun control in the United States. With legal challenges mounting, the Supreme Court is under pressure to decide the fate of assault weapon bans. The court could leave the current patchwork of state laws in place, but a circuit split makes intervention likely. If the court hears a case, its decision will hinge on whether bans fit the historical tradition test set by Bruin. A ruling for the states would uphold existing bans, affirming their constitutionality and allowing continued regulation. A ruling against the bans would likely strike down similar laws nationwide, declaring that AR-15s and similar rifles are protected by the Second Amendment. Such a decision would be a major victory for gun rights advocates and reshape gun control in America. The court's ruling will set a binding precedent for every state, the stakes nothing less than the future of gun regulation in the United States. If the Supreme Court strikes down assault weapon bans, the impact will be immediate and sweeping. States with bans would see those laws voided overnight, making rifles like the AR-15 widely available. Gun rights supporters would celebrate, while gun control advocates would warn of increased risks and urge new strategies. States would have to shift focus to measures like red flag laws, waiting periods, and background checks. The debate would move from banning weapons to regulating how they're acquired and stored. The Supreme Court's decision won't end the gun debate, but it will define the next chapter. Where America draws the line between individual rights and public safety will shape the nation for generations to come.